Following the riots that took place in the nation's capital, those insurrectionists who were provoked by Donald Trump and hundreds of Republican congressional lawmakers. Well, it turns out that some Republican voters were so disgusted by that they decided to leave the Republican Party and are no longer registered as Republican voters. Now, this number is an underestimate, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But as far as we know so far, more than 30,000 voters who had been registered members of the Republican Party have changed their voter registration in recent weeks after a mob of pro-Trump supporters attacked the Capitol. The trend is rampant everywhere where we have the data. But what's really noticeable is how this is impacting key swing states like Pennsylvania, Florida, and North Carolina. Nearly 10,000 Pennsylvania voters dropped out of the Republican Party in the first 25 days of the year, and that's according to the data released by the Secretary of State's office. Almost 6,000 North Carolina voters have dropped their affiliation with the GOP. Nearly 5,000 Arizona voters are no longer registered Republicans. The number of defectors in Colorado stands north of 4,500 in the last few weeks, and 2,300 Maryland Republicans are now either unaffiliated or registered with the Democratic Party. And when you look at Miami, 2 counties in Miami reported a combined 1,000 Republicans registering under other labels in just 2 days after the January 6th attack. Now, the number is going to be much higher as we get more details because the states that I mentioned release voter registration data more often, so every week, whereas the vast majority of states in the US do it once a month. So we'll get more data as other states start releasing their numbers. But it looks like, Republican voter, there are some Republican voters who saw what happened in the Capitol that day and have just had enough. Now, I don't know what that means for the Democratic Party because last thing we need is to have more, right-wing registered Democratic voters to cater to. I'm not really interested in that.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of the coin, and I know you have a lot to say about that, Woz.
Yeah, I'm interested to see who these voters actually are, right? And it wouldn't surprise me to find out that these are traditionally suburban, more affluent Republican voters who, let's face it, they don't want to pay taxes. They're like, sure, I don't want that, the black chick on welfare to feed her kids, but I don't think they should be storming the Capitol either. You know what I'm saying? And these tend to be some of the most reactionary voters that in existence, right? And I don't know that the Democrats want these people as part of not that they don't want them as part of the coalition. You want everybody who wants to come under the tent as part of the coalition, but the idea that you can retain these people. Again, these are the most reactionary people in the populace, right? The most, I don't know, I want to go back to being Republican again at the drop of a hat. So I don't know how reliable these people are gonna be to remain anti-Republican. That's why I'm a bit skeptical when I see those type of numbers, because let's face it, what has happened aside from, CNN scaring the living daylights out of these people with the insurrection stuff, what has actually happened within this party in the last year or so? It's like, oh God, I gotta leave it now. Come on, man, let's be serious.
Yeah, it really does remind me of the influence that the Lincoln Project had on the Biden campaign, because they did provide something very material to Biden's campaign in putting out those pretty vicious ads against Donald Trump and other Republicans running for Congress. But everything in politics is pretty transactional. And so you get favors like that from Bush era Republicans who have left the Republican Party because of Trump. You got to give them something in return, right? And so what I'm concerned about is the Democratic Party attempting to cater to these people, right? People who were Republicans yesterday, as opposed to maybe firing up and organizing to mobilize the largest voting bloc in this country, and that's non-voters, people who are eligible to vote but decide not to vote because they don't think that government's gonna do anything for them. They don't think that their vote matters. They don't think that politics or engaging in electoral politics is gonna yield any material benefit. And that's what Bernie was working on. And I think that if he continued working on it, I mean, he had success in Nevada. I mean, it's a perfect example. And it's something that it's a heavy lift. It's a super heavy lift. I don't wanna minimize the difficulty in doing that, but it can be done. And I would much rather do that, appeal to working class Americans who feel neglected by the government. I want them to be attracted to a real message by the Democratic Party instead of going the route that I'm worried we're gonna go in, which is let's try to keep these never Trump Republicans in our coalition.
Yeah, and the thing is that annoys me and scares me at the same time is that I know that the Nancy Pelosi types would love nothing more than to just take over the suburbs and never, ever, ever have to interact ever again with the kind of voter who doesn't know how to pair the right wine with the right cheese. And that's just a fact, right? Like we know that that's who they want so badly. It's just like if we could just stay in the burbs and never have to do any of this meat and potato stuff ever again, it would be perfect.
I just want to show off my ice cream without people getting mad at me.
Right. They just want to have dinner at the French Laundry, which is like, I mean, I wouldn't know because I've never been, but my girlfriend has, and she tells me it's like $1,200 a plate or something ridiculous like that.
Oh my gosh, geez.
Yeah. You don't remember when they had that a few months back?
Oh, I remember.
With these California lawmakers, they were like shelter in place, except at the French Laundry.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom, exactly. Making all of these wineries shut down while his remains open is like Lord operating. I know. Yeah.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.